Hey, how you doing today, brother? Anterieo, what we got going on today?
We here another week, as I always said, man. Another week, that means we ain't even pulled us off. News and notes. We're going to jump right into it. So we got a good show going on. News and notes.
What's going on?
The Girl Talk has a women's community roundtable today, and that's going to be at 739 Main Street, and that's in Stone Mountain at 2 o'clock today.
2 o'clock.
Also, the good brother Kong, my good brother Kong, is holding a free boxing competition for teenagers today. What's the age, man? 13
to 17.
13 to 17. Today at 6 at the A.D. Williams Rec Center in Atlanta. So
Georgia,
if you got some young boys with some aggression, bring them on out. Let them get that aggression out.
All right. We also have our featured guest today. I've been knowing this man for a couple of years. He came to a couple of my men's roundtable. He's a good brother. We got Namso. Akpan, how you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me on your show.
Always.
Yeah. So how's it going, my guy?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good.
Yeah, man, you're a pretty interesting brother. I had a chance to listen to you at the last round table, and you brought up some interesting points, but nobody knows it you better than you. So you let the audience know what it is that you do, brother Namso.
Well, first of all, my name is Namso Emmanuel Akpan. I've been in the Atlanta area for the last 20 or so years, and I came to Atlanta seeking opportunities, just like everybody else. What's interesting is that when I got to Atlanta, I got into an area of Atlanta called the Bluff.
The Bluff, yeah.
And what I noticed was an enormous amount of people, just walking around, doing nothing. I didn't know about the Bluff, what the Bluff was about. What I just noticed was people, talent, walking around doing nothing from my perspective. So I decided, hey, let me use them and start telling stories, telling their stories. So we got into making movies. We created movies called The Bluff, which...
Snow in the Bluff, I remember.
Snow in the Bluff.
Snow in the Bluff came a couple of years later. Actually, the first Bluff movie came out, I think, in 2000. Snow in the Bluff came probably 6, 7, 8 years later, after people in the Bluff got inspired seeing us making a series of films. Yeah. So other people got involved, which got me into the idea of, hey, you could, with your knowledge, you could train producers. So we started training producers, started training actors, started training all kinds of people coming into the industry. At that same time, I started approaching the government. The government in Georgia. It's interesting that the first problem we had was distribution.
Yes.
So I had to come up with a way of selling these movies, because you'd make a movie, but there's no distribution for it.
Yes.
And Hollywood at that time, we're talking about 2000. Hollywood was kind of real far away from here in 2000.
Yeah.
So I came up with the concept of creating vending machines.
Okay.
I actually had vending machines before Redbox. We created the vending machines. We approached the state government, the film department, and the lady I met there told me clearly that at that time she was the liaison officer at the film department, and she told me clearly that there wasn't anything they could do. So I met the then president of the Association of Convenience Stores, and spoke to him about the idea of getting the vending machines into convenience stores. But the problem was that the vending machines were kind of big.
Yes.
And that's when I realized in the convenience stores, gas stations, space is of value. So I was told that the vending machines are too big to be in the stores. So we tried the malls. We were told it was illegal to sell DVDs in vending machines. So I ended up losing all the vending machines, and we lost over $60,000 in investment in the vending machines. 2 or so years later, we started noticing Redbox.
Yeah.
The first Redbox I noticed was, I think, at the CVS at West End. I was like, wow, how were they able to get theirs in, and we weren't? That's when we realized that we had a problem. We had a problem in the sense that nobody really knew what to do or how to bring a movie industry here. So between 2006 to 2011, I did all kinds of experiments, from internet, selling DVDs through the internet, downloads, everything.
Yeah.
We tried everything, and we documented our experiences.
And that's pretty interesting that you say that now. So now, it was something that you said at the round table, and I want you to kind of like expound on that a little bit. Where talk about like the imagery, how the imagery plays into. I think you mentioned something how the imagery of certain movies were affecting the way the people were thinking. Yes. Can you kind of expound on that a little bit?
You see, it's real interesting that I had the opportunity of going to Nigeria after high school.
Right.
I completed my high school in Nigeria. And my side hustle then was showing movies all around African villages. The kind of movies we were showing were the movies that Hollywood was putting out.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting that even there in Nigeria, in the late 80s, early 90s, when we were showing these movies, it created a change in the people. All of a sudden, we started having gangs. In a community that gangs were not known about. We started having gangs. Coming back here to Atlanta, I realized later on that our experience, everything we were doing, we were copying the movies.
Yeah.
Both here and in Africa.
Yeah.
We were all copying the movies.
Yeah.
Then I realized that it seemed more that somebody was injecting negative things in these movies, knowing that we would copy them.
Absolutely, and that's kind of why I asked you kind of to explain a little bit, because as I try to get the people to understand like the paradigm that they give us. Let's say a movie like New Jack City.
Yes.
So if we use a movie like New Jack City and we understand that what the government did when they brought drugs into the community, it was to exterminate the black community. But if we can kind of like glorify these movies and kind of make Nino Brown kind of romance the character of Nino Brown, it has a negative effect on the minds of the people. Now everybody, let's say, everybody moves away from a Marcus Garvey mentality to now a Nino Brown mentality, which kind of like poisons the thinking of the people. And when you said that at the round table, you said, now we're having things like child support in Africa, and I said, oh, get out of here.
Yeah, a lot of things in these movies have changed our way of life.
Yes.
And after investing my last 30 years in the industry, I found that, unfortunately, it's when I say this, people are like, are you saying this because you're involved? And I say no.
Right.
I need your support because we have found the solution to the problem. Okay. If we don't control our image, nothing. There's nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no amount of bandaging that is going to help our people if we don't control our image.
Yeah. Because one thing we look at, we look at how the Jews control the imagery of their culture and their people, and then we look at the imagery and the culture of our people, how we always gang members, drug addicts, abusive mothers, single mothers that just can't get it right. All of these things play into the image of black people just can't get right, and that's not really the reality.
No, it's not.
So, everything is so far gone now. So, where do we start at with that?
Good question.
That's a real good question because when I found out the problem and I found out the solution to this problem, I then approached a lot of our representatives and senators in our system now, in our government now, to share with them this solution. Unfortunately, this beast that has to be brought down is so enormous in the eyes of so many of us. So we don't attempt. We don't even attempt to bring it down. We don't attempt. It's, for example, we look at how our communities are and what is prevalent in our communities, drugs, sex, etc. Then we look at the radio stations, the urban radio stations that are feeding our communities. And I always wonder, how come when we want to protest and we want to boycott, we don't boycott the source of the problem, which is the urban radio stations that are feeding the trash into our communities.
Because that's the program right there.
That's the major program. When these radio stations put negative information in our mind, so we end up, I mean, check this out. You go to church, you come out of church, and you turn on your radio. You put it on an urban station because you enjoy the rhythm of this urban music. See, they're smart. They take the rhythm that goes into our spirit and lace it. Then lace it with instructions that tell us to kill ourselves, that tell us to hate ourselves, that tell us to drug ourselves, to tell us that we're nothing. So in our minds, we become nothing. So because we become nothing, we create nothing. One of the greatest problems I have had in our community in the south side of Atlanta is the doubt from our people to help build our community. My invested time in the community has taught me so much. It has shared with me how so many words that we use, we ourselves complain. For example, if we talk about gentrification, we're all, up to 2 weeks ago, I was among the bandwagon that was complaining about gentrification in the black communities. But I had the opportunity of socializing with a couple of my white friends, and they live in the community. And I told them what my intentions were, my thoughts were for the community, the growth I had for our community. And they said to me, wow, what you're intending to do is what you're like taking us back to how it used to be 50, 60, 70 years ago. I'm like, what? They then shared with me what their great-grandparents and their grandparents built in our community. So now when we talk about gentrification, we're on the wrong side, because we cannot accuse them of gentrifying our community. How can we accuse them of gentrifying our community if our community was built by their grandparents?
That's an interesting perspective when you make it look like that. But I always been one to say, well, we're not looking through equal lens, because even though their ancestors may have built it, their ancestors haven't faced what our ancestors have faced. Make sense? You know, as far as like the straight genocide and the focusing on just destroying us. Now, these Europeans, they may feel the effects of certain things that we feel: hunger, can't get a job.
My brother, let me intercede, because I hear this so often. I hear when we're talking about logic, a lot of our people talk about emotions. Let's focus on the logic. 50, 60 years ago, we came into these neighborhoods and bought them up. Unfortunately, the white people that lived here saw us, they didn't understand us, so they moved out. When they moved out with their stores, their businesses, and their ventures. We took hold of these communities. We did nothing. We did very little. We let these communities run down in our hands during our watch.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Now, the traffic and so many reasons have made living in the suburbs not advantageous anymore. So these people that built here have chosen to come back. But this is the funny part, because we really should be happy. We really should be happy if we did the right thing. And the right thing was probably, I'm not sure of the values, but we could have bought these houses at whatever we bought them at. We could have increased the value 10 times. Now, whoever is coming in to buy our houses would have to pay a premium to get it. So we would have money to hand over to our children. And we wouldn't be complaining about people coming in to buy up our investments. But because we held these things and we let them rot, we bought it at $60,000.
Okay.
We held it for 50 years. We let it rot to a point that our children are no longer interested. So that our kids that have money dip to another neighborhood.
Okay.
Because they don't want to live in the rot that we let rot. Now it rot.
Okay.
And
Seems we have a
got
call. Seems we have a call. Yes.
Hey, Stephen, what's going on,
Hey,
man?
how you doing, good brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen, that's a real good question. Now, when we talk of deprogramming, we're not gonna do the deprogramming. We're not gonna be the ones doing the deprogramming. What we're going to do is set up the infrastructure for the deprogramming to occur. You see, we know what we want. We know what we want. The problem has been other people telling us what we want.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So by us having the infrastructure, the instrument, the industry that will allow us in all aspects to share our experience and our views and who we are, our children, our brothers or sisters or mothers will take heed. So if you were confused on who we are, you watch a movie and it will tell you who we are because that movie was created by us. So that's how we're going to get deprogrammed. And most importantly, we're going to make a lot of money. We're going to make a lot of money. You see, because a lot of the youth, take for example a young boy at the gas station. He has talent. He has talent. Everybody has talent. The problem is that we fail to remember that talent means money.
Yep.
So if you have talent, you already got money. You shouldn't have to go and learn talent. But the problem is we have a system that forces us to go spend the first 18 to 20 years of our lives learning talent. Then when we come out of that system, we realize that, wow, we really don't have the instructions to live.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people that I meet, a lot of young boys tell me, oh, nobody, how come in school I wasn't taught how to change a tire?
Right.
So the basic things, building a house, to create structure for themselves, shelter for themselves, they're not taught. But they're programmed in school and given a certain mentality. So that's where the film industry comes in. It's really important because it's the tool. Hollywood was used to take us to where we are. The only way we can reverse our course is to have another machine equipped just like Hollywood. We call it Lanawood. So to have that machine and run it just like Hollywood, it's going to create the exact same effect. It's going to empower our people so that we no longer have to wait for somebody else to give us opportunities. I keep hearing a lot of our politicians talk about, oh, I'm going to bring Amazon. And I sit back to think, I'm like, wow. Is that all you can do for our people? Bring Amazon here? How many jobs will Amazon create? And how many dreams will Amazon destroy? How many jobs will Amazon create? And how many dreams? It's like infrastructures that we have around here. We say, okay, we're going to create. A lot of our politicians are in there talking about, oh, I'm going to bring growth to the community.
Yeah.
Then to them, growth means bringing a corporate body. Bringing a corporate body to our community that is going to take all the opportunities and put in one pocket.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, how come they couldn't create that corporate body and make it belong to the community and share it among the community so that the people that are affected by the big old fence, you know, when the corporate body comes, I come with a big old fence to keep you out.
Yep.
Okay, if you want to keep me out, let me get something out of it. Let me be okay staying out. Let me know, for example, the stadium. It's an incredible project.
Absolutely.
A lot of money. And we know that the stadium project, there's the government does give a hand. The government helps to make that possible. But at the end, how many of us are empowered by the stadium standing there in our community? I'm blocking the view.
I think it's under that false, what is it, the illusion of inclusion?
Yes.
Where we really feel like, oh,